भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Hari Om. There is a quick question we have from the last class. What is the exact role of Guru in these 3 stages of ignorance removal? Now, in the last class, I was referring to the ignorance expressing in 3 levels, 3 stages of expression: lack of information, lack of understanding, and lack of experience. These are the 3 stages in which the ignorance expresses, ignorance of the self. Now, what we are worried, what the question is what is the role of a guru in that? Now, in the first stage, Guru plays a very active role for the removal, the first level of ignorance to be removed. The Guru does all the work. The student is a passive receiver. That's about it. So first level ignorance to be removed, the role of a Guru is an active one, where he puts in a lot of effort. There is more effort from the Guru's point of view than the student's point of view. Student his effort is only not to disturb. That's the only effort. Not to disturb in the sense, not to get agitated, not to disturb the, setup that we are having to receive the knowledge and all that. So that's all his role is. He has no direct role to play. Now, when it comes to the second stage, Guru has no role to play. It is only the student who puts in full effort. And when it comes to the third stage, meaning in the second stage, the Guru can come in the form of correction. Guru can come in and say, no, your thinking is wrong. Your reasoning is wrong. The way you are going about, you are making a mistake here. Now, he can give a different angle also. So that way, he doesn't play an active role, but he plays a passive role. That's about it. He doesn't actively do anything to remove that ignorance of lack of understanding. In the stage of Mananam, students start doing more work. The teacher's work slowly reduces. His effort, he takes a back seat. And then, when it comes to the third stage, lack of experience, teacher goes out. Teacher has no role to play. He neither has active role nor has passive role. No role. 100% it is only the student's effort that is going to remove the third layer of ignorance, lack of experience. Nididhyasanam has to be done only by the student. Teacher has no role. In meditation, no teacher has a role. Therefore, anybody can teach meditation. That's not a problem at all. Everyone is qualified to teach meditation. Because anyway, there is no role to be played there by the teacher. Then what is he going to do, sir? Remember, when I say he doesn't have role to play, don't take it literally that yes, you have nothing to do with it. No. It is the Guru who gives you the possibility of an experience such as self-realization. If you are not having a Guru, it is impossible for you to even conceive the possibility of realization as an experience to be lived. See, We just understand it only as a far-fetched imagination or theorization. More than that, it will not give you that inspiration. So when it comes to Nididhyasanam, the role of the teacher is to provide inspiration to you, give you the possibility. Because of his experience of realization, there is a possibility you can see that you can also attain it. You can also achieve it. Which is the greatest service of the Guru? First service, the second service is not a big one, actually speaking. The first one is to give informations to you, to teach you about basic knowledge about this is mind, this is body, this is intellect, this is the self, this is waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, prarabdha, purushartha, vasanas, this one, that one, all this information you can gather from anyone. You don't need a big man for that, please. But you need a guru. For what, sir? To give you the conviction that mission in my life is to realize the self. For that, you need a person who has already tasted it, who has already liquidated that individuality. That is the greatest service of the Guru. Greatest help Guru gives to you, which you recognize only when you qualify to the third stage. In the first stage, you will not get inspired by his state. You will get inspired mostly with their erudition, scholarship, their arresting personality. Like you look at him, it's so interesting. Like Ramana Maharishi, photograph you see, anybody will say this man is something amazing. But you take the photograph of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, if you don't know that is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and you see, you don't know that is Einstein, and you see his big picture, what is your impression you will have? You see, that's the first thing. What will impress most of us is not their state of existence. The state of their being will not inspire us. Initial stage, what will inspire all of us is their personality, the knowledge, the teaching, the words, the sentences, their ability to crystallize an idea and present it to you, which you knew intuitively. It's not that you are going to be hearing it, new here, nothing of that sort, But what happens when you listen to these great masters is this. That is why the Shastras, they say, every guru has to have two qualifications. He has to be a Shrotriya, also he has to be a Brahmanishta. If you have only Brahmanishta, if he is not a Shrotriya, don't help. Shrotriya in the sense is who had studied, who has studied the scriptures, plus he has the knowledge to communicate. He has the personality to communicate. So both should be there. So he has to have that knowledge plus communication skills, and whatever goes along with that, all that is understood, all that he has with it. Now he has the knowledge, also he has this ability to communicate. Both he has. Along with that, what is required is he has to be a Brahmanishta also. Why not just the knowledge of the scriptures? Isn't that enough, sir? No, he has to be a Brahmanishta. Why? Because only a Brahmanishta can help you to have the conviction in life that mission is to realize. That conviction you will not get if it is not a Brahmanishta. You see, that is why the Shastras, they say, Guru means he has to have both. The Shrotriya dimension of the Guru helps you in the first two stages, in the Shravanam and Manana. In listening and reflection, he plays a role using his ability, his knowledge, his understanding. that he gets when you go there. That is the first stage, wherein he plays active role and passive role. Passive role in the sense not a primary role. He will come into picture at the second step, not as a first stage. Second step, he helps. Now, Brahmanishta dimension of Guru will give you that inspiration and conviction that self-realization is possible, is something which can be experienced, something which can be tasted, something which actually exists. Because how much ever you theorize, how much ever you study the things, you will never get the conviction in life. You need to see someone who has that living. He has to be living that thing. How do you know whether he is living, or that is a different equation? Okay. How do you know whether that fellow is a Kshotriya or whether he is a Brahmanishta? All that you can't ask. It's exactly like asking. Like when I joined the Vedanta Academy, that's the first time I'm going towards north. To me, beyond Tamil Nadu border, everybody speaks Hindi. Right? Furthest point I have traveled is Hyderabad, to my brother-in-law's place. That's all. But more than that, I have not been. So when I was planning to go towards Bombay, I used to watch Hindi movies, so I know few words. That's about it. I don't know Hindi, but words at least I know. I was there for after about 2 months in the academy. One day I called my colleagues there. I was asking them, hey, when you fellows speak Hindi, I'm following. When the servants, they are there, the cooks and all, they are there, 2-3 people who used to come, from the village. Whatever they speak, I'm not able to understand a word. Why is it so? When you guys speak, I'm able to understand. When they speak, I'm not able to understand. I asked them, what's wrong with those people? Those guys, they said, nothing wrong with them, something wrong with you only, they said. I said, what is it? They said, they are not speaking Hindi, they are speaking Marathi. Those people also don't know Hindi. They also knew only Marathi, actually. To know whether they are speaking Hindi or they are speaking Marathi, how much I can understand is only to the extent I know the difference, I know the language. When I have no clue of the language, you cannot distinguish. It's like sometimes we watch this, Korean movies, Japanese, Korean. Now, these languages, when you hear, can you distinguish? We can't distinguish. All sound same for us. Why? You don't know. Remember, to the extent you have the knowledge, only to that extent you can see the knowledge in the other person also. So from the level of your complete ignorance, if you are trying to gauge who is a Kshotriya, who is a Brahmanishta, is exactly like me trying to understand who has the expertise, who speaks better Marathi, who speaks better Hindi. You would be a total failure. So don't venture in that place. You see, we understand whoever is considered as gurus, we blindly take them as gurus, full stop. Don't worry about it. But once you start gaining the knowledge, once you keep gaining this knowledge of the language, you understand. Same way, as you evolve, you can recognize who is evolved to the extent of their evolution. There are grades. Like in social status, there are grades, no? People say below poverty line. When I say what I mean is below poverty line, poor people. And then, we have lower middle class, middle class, upper middle class, all the classifications we get. You can recognize. How do you recognize it? Only when you grow, you can recognize. When you have not grown, you cannot recognize. Therefore, don't try to probe into the question of who is a Shrotriya, who is a Brahmanishta, who is a combination of Shrotriya, Brahmanishta, all that. Take it for granted that any conclusion you come to is a wrong conclusion. Always take it as subjected to correction, subject to upgrading. So give room to that. So far, according to me, this person, this knowledge, this method is helping you. Take it as ultimate and start growing. But the way it works, if you ask, theoretically, if you are asking, how does it work, sir? It works like this. What is the exact role of a guru? In the first stage of Shravanam, guru does more work, student is not doing much work. In the stage of Mananam, student does more work, guru does less work. Work is only correction. Second stage. In the third stage, full work is done only by the student. The teacher, guru is standing as a possibility, as a potential inspiration. So you just derive that inspiration from his presence. That's about it. You can't go to him for the first two. Then you can recognize gurus, who you can use for what, how you have to use them and all this. Right? Now this is the idea, the three stages of ignorance and how that ignorance is, manifesting, how that ignorance is working in us and all that we have seen. Now he says, if ignorance is so, one problem all of us face is this, so the ignorance that I am carrying is so deep, you see, so thick, so solid. Darkness always appears so solid when you are in the room. Same way, the ignorance that you carry looks so much, and the samsara, that pain that you are experiencing, looks so much, as though unending. It goes on and on and on. Where is the end of sorrow? That's the problem for all of us. Whenever you are experiencing sorrow, the classical explanation or the classical experience of a person who is suffering is he feels there is no end to it. When will it end? As though it will never end. There is no end to my sorrow. No one can end my sorrow. That's the typical experience. That's what Arjuna also says in the Gita. I don't see any solution. I don't see any possibility. I'm lost completely, he says. Same way, we also feel that we are totally lost. And that's where, I said this book, one line, one example that he gives that has really, gave me the courage to pursue this is this paragraph in this, page number 67, where in the new book, I don't know which book you people are carrying, the way to more light is the faithful use of what you have. A fascinating, this one he gives here. You see this, the slide here. The ignorance has many. The way to more light is the faithful use of what you have. You can see in the book, page number 67, second paragraph. And he gives a beautiful example. You know, there are 2-3 things, which gave me tremendous courage. Is this one to take up. He says, the car headlights can light only up to 100 meters. Right. Now you have to travel from one city to another city, and entire highway is dark, which is about 450 kilometers. You have to travel, say, 450 kilometers of darkness versus 100 meters of light. Where is a chance to cover that much of length? He says, all that you have to do is what? Cross that 100 meters using that light that you have. What happens there? Surprisingly, the next 100 meters lighted. Cross that next 100 meters. Now you have covered 300 meters already. You travel, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. You will never see darkness anywhere. Right through the highway, you never see darkness anywhere. What you have to do, says, is use the faculties that you have and employ them, use them appropriately, and engage their faithful use of what you have. Do you use the opportunities provided to you in a faithful manner? That is the great question. Now, the problem we face is people don't want to put in their effort. Always we want to live borrowed. Borrow and borrow and borrow. Nothing wrong in borrowing, please. But what you are supposed to do is you borrow money, invest, earn profit, pay back the loan, continue the business, earn profit, and then live your life. What are we doing now, sir? Borrow money, buy car. Borrow money, you can buy car. Another fellow can buy a house. Another fellow can buy a company. Another fellow can buy a ship. Another fellow can buy an aircraft. Whatever you can buy, you buy. That's about it. But that's not the way to go about. Initially, you need some support. Take that support. But then you have to slog. You have to work, do business, develop that, earn profit. Then what are you supposed to do? Don't start buying house immediately. What do you do, sir? Pay back to the bank. Settle the account with the bank first. And then what? Continue your effort. Earn profit. Then live your life. Let your lifestyle be based on the profit that you have earned then with your effort. Instead of that, what are we doing, sir? Borrow. You wanted to live your life on borrowing. The same blunder we make at the spiritual level also. People don't want to put in their effort. They don't want to strive. They don't want to struggle. Now he says, okay, if we have to strive, if I have to move towards enlightenment, I have to start from where I stand. No. If I have to start from where I am standing, what should I do? Where should I go up? What am I supposed to do, sir? He gives 3 basic disciplines to be followed at 3 layers of your personality. Physical level, you do action. 1 discipline he gives. 1 principle. At the emotional level, 1 principle. At the intellectual level, 1 principle. That's all required. If you master these 3 principles, you are started using this 100 meters. You have started moving the car. What we say is, let the government put light all over, right along the entire highway, to put a floodlight all over, and then I will start moving. It will never happen. He says, start using the car. What is the first principle, sir? At the level of action, what are you supposed to do, sir? He says, execute actions can be done in two attitudes. Every action of yours, all that you have been doing, anywhere, whether it is your personal, your family, your social, your corporate, official, anywhere you go, all actions of yours can be performed with two fundamental attitudes. One is the attitude of taking, one attitude of giving. Every action you can perform with the attitude of giving or with the attitude of taking. Taking in the sense, what is in it for me? Unless I am convinced of what is in it for me and I am happy about that, unless I am guaranteed that, unless I like that, action will not be done. This is called attitude of taking. Taking in the sense, two things I will want. What is that? One, what you are going to give me, I should like, number one. Number two, that should be guaranteed to me. You see, there has to be a guarantee of that. I work in the company. Why? Because there is a salary. And that salary is guaranteed. Imagine the company were to tell you that you work. If there is anything, we will pay. If not, forget it. Forget about your company. Try with your mate. You work. We may pay, we may not pay. Next day she will not come. Or he will not come. Whoever it is. Whatever the level is. There has to be a guarantee, number one. Number two, what I am getting in return is to be to my liking, to be to my satisfaction. If it is to my satisfaction, I will take. If not, I will say, I don't want it. You keep it yourself. And the problem is, know what? The moment your attitude were to be towards taking, you do get agitated. You will suffer from stress, strain, depression, all this. There is no other escape. Don't try this. Any other method, please. If this depression, stress levels are increasing today in the world, why? Because everywhere the focus had shifted from giving to taking. Inside the house, between partners, the things have come to the level of what? Not giving, taking. You see, what we call as duties versus rights. Are you living your life on duty or you are living your life on rights? Look at all those people. All those people who have lived their life on duties, they don't suffer. There is no stress, there is no agitation, there is no disturbance, nothing. I remember my uncle used to say that, when he used to go to office, tomorrow office is there. He won't say that. He used to call it as, duty. Tomorrow I have to go for my duty. My duty. Office work he used to call as duty. Beautiful philosophy. Beautiful way of looking at it. Now, all those people who work with the attitude of giving, you have to do this. Now, immediately our argument is what? Why should I give? That's where he says, think carefully. The moment you are born, you have started consuming. From birth, you are a consumer. You are not a contributor. Remember, you have been only consuming, 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 consuming. Start contribution. First, before you go for the contribution, what are you supposed to do? Settle your score, man. Says. And Krishna goes to the extent of, really giving a very powerful thing. He calls them stena eva saha. Yes. Those who eat without producing is verily a thief, he says. You are a thief. Now you have been consuming so many things from the world. Like he used to ask, oxygen bills. Have you paid your oxygen bill? I didn't get corona, sir, therefore no problem for oxygen for me. Imagine all of us had to be paying our oxygen bill. Imagine who is maintaining the pressure inside, the pressure outside. How you get you just get a cut. The wound gets healed. How? You are just leaving it. The forces is coming and mending. Imagine if that doesn't happen, what happens? Like there are people, who have to keep putting, eye drops every 1 hour. Why is that? Otherwise it gets dried. Now for us it is constantly secreted. Imagine if that is not there. Every 1 hour, imagine you have to keep putting it. And it gets dried. How strainful it would be for you to live life. Even before the child is born, the food is made ready for the child. He's just born, and the fellow, as soon as he's born, hey, cry. That's all you know. That's all any child knows. Right? The food is ready before his birth. What a benefaction of nature. You are consuming all that. What is your contribution? What have you returned? Not to talk about the teachers who have taught you the language. You would say immediately, I paid the fees. The school fees I paid, no. I'll give you that same 50 rupees. I'll return that money. Return all that you have learned. Can you? Not possible. Think in every dimension of life. It says, every dimension, you have been consuming. And what is your contribution, sir? On top of that, they are expecting more. You see? That's what this Victor Hugo, in his play Les Miserables, he gives the central theme of the play. He says, life is to give, not to take. Yes, life is to give, not to take. That's what Muhammad says. He is the best amongst us, who is best at repaying. Serve. Be content to serve. This is the instruction of Christ. You see, whether the great literature people, you take Krishna, you take Christ, you take Muhammad, every one of them were talking about it. But that we will not do. That dimension of life we will not follow. Life becomes such a strain. There's no cheer. You see, there is so much of seriousness comes into picture when you start doing things, isn't it? That's why we see all these, players. For their stress buster, what they do? These cricket players, for their stress buster, what they do, sir? They play football. The football fellow says what? I play tennis. Tennis player says what? I go for a drive. The fellow who's professional driver, he says what? Naren Karthikeyan, in his interview, he says, one competition I go and come back, 6 kg lost. He says, why? Takes so much of stress, so much of pressure. That's why in every house, Saturday evening, kitchen closed. They don't cook. Any restaurant in Bangalore, you have to stand in queue only. Not now. Okay. Earlier, any layer of restaurants you go, weekends closed. Why? Cooking is such a pressure for the person who is cooking. Studying is such a pressure for the person who is studying. That's why every student, last exam, you see how they come out of the examination hall. As though they come out from jail. Such a relief they have after the exams. Why? Pressure, they say. What is the job of a student? Studying. What is the job of the lady of the house? To cook. What is the job of a managing director? Is to manage. What is the job of a sportsman? Is to play sports. The sports person says playing sports is strainful, stressful, pressurizing. Cooking is a pressure for this person. Studying is pressure for that person. Teaching is pressure for the teacher. Then why are you developing that skill? You put in so much of effort to develop that skill, isn't it? But when you have to perform action, why you are not able to use your own skill? Why do you have to take a break? Weekends and vacations. That doesn't mean you should not take a break, please. You should not be taking a break, because if you don't take a break, you will break. You see, a husband comes home after work. The wife says, can we go out for dinner? The husband jumps at that idea and says, come, let's go. Why? Cooking in the house is horrible. At least one day, let me get a good food, he says. That is not the way a good house has to be. We enjoy the food in the house. Fascinating. But still, one day we decide, just for fun, we will go out. That is different. If you don't perform actions, if you have to start your work, pressure. Whenever you are not performing action, you are relaxed. From where the pressure that you are experiencing in work. Now, we all believe it's the work that is giving it. Remember, it's not the work. From where it is coming, sir? It is coming from the attitude that you have towards the work. What is your attitude, sir? Taking. Somewhere down the line, your focus is being on what is in that action for me. What am I going to get out of this action? First, establish that. Then I will be motivated to perform action. When that is not established, I will not perform action. This attitude is what is making our life such a serious thing. Life has become so serious now that you need a conductor today to teach you to laugh, isn't it? The parks we see people standing, one fellow has to tell you, now, ha, 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 ha. Then everybody says, ha, 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 ha. Then you need a conductor to teach you to laugh, which is a matter which we have been hearing it in every family. Each one teasing the other. Each one is pulling the leg of the other. Laughing means people used to laugh rolling on the floor. You can hear in the next street, they're laughing. Now, laughing has to happen means what, sir? You have to be drunk. When you are drunk only, you know to laugh. That's why laughter happens in apartments, in our apartments. Night 1:30, sound comes. Why? Fully drunk. The fellow. That's how you know. He says, no, man. Life can be lived cheerfully. How you can have that cheer, laughter in life, sir? He says, cultivate that attitude of giving. Learn to perform action, to give, not to take. This is the basic idea of action. Action discipline is this. Then he gives the second discipline of life, which belongs to the level of emotions, mind. At the level of emotions, are you experiencing love or you are experiencing attachment? What is your experience? We have emotions. All emotions has to be amalgamated, made to one mass of love. Now today, emotions wise, what we are experiencing, sir? Emotions, what we experience is only attachment. See, only attachment we know of life. Yes. What is love? Now, when we say what is love, each one of this is where the difference is. First one is Shravanam, you listen. Next one is you have to do the reflection. You see, when you have to do the reflection, you have to ask, you should be pausing at this stage. You ask the question, what is love? Stop. Don't continue. Strictly speaking, that is how this knowledge is supposed to be taught. What is love according to you? Now, each one of us, see, none of you can take a stand and say, I don't know a thing called love. You see, linear equation, vectors. You can say, hey, I don't know about vectors, man. I don't know about integral calculus. Integral calculus, na? Calculator, you say. You know only calculator. You say, now what is integral calculus? You say, I don't know, man. You can say, no issues. But when it comes to Vedanta, the problem is, it is not that you don't know. You do know. That is what you are supposed to bring out first. That is what reflection is. But however, before that, you have to gain this knowledge. Basic knowledge has to be there in you for reference point. Now, reference point is this. How do you understand love? Pause. Love, you do experience love. You don't say, I don't know love. You see, when I see my daughter, I do feel love, right? When I see my wife, I do feel love. I do see my husband, I do feel love. Or somebody you see, if not husband, wife, someone you may see and feel love in life. You don't. Now you have to bring out that definition first. When you say love, what is your understanding of it? Then cross-verify with what is given in the book. I carry this. This is what the book says. Now between the two, which is correct? If it tallies, no problem. If it is not tallying, then what are you going to do? That is the question. That is how you study this. Now, don't read the book like, you read Harry Potter. I see a lot of people, read the, Vedanta Treatise also like Harry Potter. Gada, 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 you finish it. Now, people say, I finished Vedanta Treatise. I said, I have not yet finished. It's only about, 25 years for me now. I have not yet finished. So, after I finished, I will tell you which book to study. Now, people ask me, I have completed Vedanta Treatise. What else I have to study? I say, I have not completed, so wait till I complete. The way you read this book is not like that, please. You have to pause. You have to read a paragraph, pause, think, analyze, reason, bring out your understanding, and weigh what is given there. See all those things, and then move to the next paragraph. And then move to the next paragraph. This will be too much. At least what you do is take an idea to start with. Just don't read the book, please. When you're going through the book, how you have to do is this. Read an idea. Like in the topic Elements of Right Living, he gives 3 ideas. First idea, action. Second idea, emotions. Third idea, intellect. Now, when he gives these 3 ideas, read that entire material that's available to you on that idea, which could be 2 or 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs. I don't know, whatever it is. Read, pause, think, and come back. Same way here. When you read this idea, love, your emotions do know of love. You do have an idea of what is love. What is this emotion, man? According to you. Only then you will understand the difficulty of defining it. You see, when you read that continuous, it's not a problem at all. He will say, what is love? Love is nothing, man. It's just a feeling of identification. That's all love is. My ability to identify with you, where I feel that oneness. I can feel as you are. I feel as how you feel. I think as you think. I experience as you experience. That is called a love. That's why the Persian poet, beautifully he says, when Laila was operated, Majnu started bleeding, it seems. He says, love, what is love? He says, that is love. What does it say? When Laila was operated, Majnu started bleeding. He says, that's identification. You feel the most. So when you experience this, or your ability to identify with whom? With what? I can identify with a person who is feeding me. So long as you cater to my demands, I can identify with you. The moment you stop catering to my demands, I say hell with you. Do you call that as love? You have to decide. I am not saying anything. So long as you cater to my demands, so long as you do things according to me, for me, you feed me, so long as you are catering to my demands. My demands can be material, my demands can be physical, my demands can be emotional, my demands can be intellectual, my demands can be even spiritual. So long as that demands are met, I can identify with you. The moment this supply cut, what happens? Can you call that as love? If not, then what is love, sir? Love means it should be independent of all these things. So what is love? It says beautiful definition of love. Equation, mathematical equation of love. What is love, sir? Love equals attachment minus selfishness. Attachment, how do you understand attachment? Whatever you call as love, wherever you are having love, delete selfishness out of it. You get. So what is attachment? Attachment is nothing but love plus selfishness. That's all. It's a simple equation. Attachment. What is attachment, sir? Attachment equals love plus selfishness. When your affection were to be vitiated, coupled, mixed, linked to your selfishness, what of it to me? What is that you can give me? Depending on how much you give me, to that extent I will be affectionate towards you. The moment the supply reduces, my affection also will reduce. So if you want my affection, what you have to do? Give me more, feed me more, feed me more, feed me more. It's the same thing the other party also says. What is the other party saying, sir? You feed me first. You feed me first. You feed me first. You feed me first. Both live life of starvation. The world is suffering today. Why is that? So much of suffering in the world. Why? There's no love. What is your problem in loving? Not easy. Why is that? Problem is you got to drop your selfishness. That's the first law of Moses. He says, thou shalt have no other God but love. He says, the first law. There is no other God, man. All that you require is what? Just have that love. That's what Samuel Coleridge, he says in this poem, Ancient Marine. Beautiful poem. Where the fellow, the ancient mariner, when he is going on a voyage, he's enjoying everything in the sea. Beautiful. Suddenly he starts hating all that and he shoots an albatross and it hangs on his neck. That's what, it's a saying also, they say, albatross. After that, his life has been such a pain. He lost everything, he's a wreck and this, suffering. And that's where he makes a famous statement, water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. All over is water. You can't drink that water. What's the point? He suffers. And suddenly, he again starts appreciating identifies with nature. And everything changes instantly. Everything turned favorable to him. And he reaches to the shore of peace safely. That's where he gives the poem. After that only he narrates all that had happened. That's the poem. And that's where he gives a beautiful statement there. He prayeth well, who loveth well, both man, bird, and beast. He prayeth well, who loveth well, both man, bird, and beast. He prayeth best, who loveth best, all things both great and small. That's prayer. What is prayer? It's not going to the temple and putting a petition there. Give me this, give me that, do this for me, do that for me. All this. It's not a petition, please. It is to go there, to have this ability to identify with the fellow beings. Now, when he had that identification with the fellow beings as my own self, as a reflection, my ability to see the other person as, I can say, what today people call as empathy. You can use a different word, doesn't make any, it's okay. Your ability to do that, what you have to do, sir, leave your selfishness and send your affection. Affection, delete selfishness from there. That is at the emotional level. At the intellectual level, what are you supposed to do? He says, at the intellectual level, develop wisdom. Develop this pursuit of the spiritual knowledge than the worldly information. What we call as intelligence. You build intelligence. Nothing wrong with that, please. But intelligence should not be developed at the cost of intellectual development. Now, today, at the cost of intellectual development, intelligence has been, is getting promoted. They start developing that. How do you develop it, sir? Through the study and the reflection of the truths taught, embedded in the scriptures, from the Shastras, through the proper reflection and assimilation. Problem is, we don't study. A small group of people who start the study stay put at the study level only. They don't move to the next level of reflection and assimilation of that idea. It's like you eat nutritious food. Also, your system should have the capacity to absorb the nutrition content in the food. You see, only then you get health. You can't just get health any other way. You have to absorb. Your system should have the capacity to absorb it. How do you develop that absorption power, sir? Absorption happens only through proper reflection, manana. So through the study and reflection of these eternal truths of life, there you develop your intellect. Seek that self-knowledge, not the worldly knowledge, worldly information. That doesn't mean you should never gain any intelligence, please. No. Immediately people go to the other extreme. They say, oh, now what you are saying is we should not gain any intelligence. No. You have to understand you need intelligence. For what you need intelligence? Intelligence will help you to earn your livelihood. But it is the intellectual development that will make your life complete. See, living your life is totally different. Remember, the typical example we give is the knowledge of psychology doesn't insulate the psychologist from depression. He is also prone to depression. With all the knowledge of psychology, he is not insulated. That is called intelligence. Intellect is exactly opposite of that. Buddha, who had been saying day in and day out, life is suffering, life is suffering, life is suffering, life is suffering, life is painful, 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 painful. But this man is an epitome of peace and bliss. Even the most agitated fellow look at the statue of Buddha, you get peace. You can imagine how peaceful Buddha must have been. His statue gives that peace to the world today. So how is it possible that a fellow goes on saying life is suffering, life is suffering, life is suffering, but he is peaceful? It's not possible. You see, you keep on saying life is painful, painful, painful. Over a period of time, you should become pessimistic and cynical. But Buddha is neither a pessimist nor cynical. How? His life is insulated completely. That is called intellectual development. That's called wisdom. Develop the three. Now, when you are lacking this three principles, action, attitude of giving, emotion, love, intellectually, self-knowledge. Self-knowledge in the sense, intellectual development, the wisdom, scriptural wisdom, spiritual wisdom, you say. When you are lacking all these things, the ignorance which is running in your life, undercurrent, is the ignorance. That ignorance is what we are trying to combat. For that only we are going through these right elements of life. That ignorance manifests in you at the mental state as three basic temperaments. You see, there are three fundamental thought textures the ignorance manifests as. That is what he is analyzing next. One of the fascinating contribution of Vedanta, the study of the three temperaments. Of course, he is only introducing here. Detailed one comes later. Okay. Right now is only a basic introduction of these ideas. And with reference to action, there are so many aspects we need to understand that he is going to be elaborating in the next chapter, exigence of action, and then strength of emotion, then light of wisdom, and then he will conclude, elimination of life. There we can see the development in more detail, but he is just introducing this here. The ignorance of the self manifests as three. Ignorance manifests in the three ways. What is that? We will see in the next class. Thank you. Hari Om.